Have you ever been in the middle of a mundane task, maybe sorting laundry, driving on a familiar road, or staring at a spreadsheet, and felt the sudden urge to speak your thoughts into the empty air? Not a full-blown conversation, just a fragment. A label like, "Okay, focus on this first." A question like, "Wait, what was the aha moment there?" Or a simple declaration like, "This feels too complicated." It's a quiet, almost instinctive reflex. And for many, it's followed by a brief flicker of self-consciousness, a quick glance around an empty room, a feeling that you've just revealed a hidden part of your mental machinery. Society doesn't quite have a comfortable place for this habit. It's often mistaken for a sign of being scattered, stressed, or lonely. But what if it's none of those things? What if talking to yourself isn't a sign that your mind is overloaded, but rather a sign of how deeply it's working? What if it's a natural, elegant cognitive strategy employed by minds that are built to process the world with unusual depth and clarity? This isn't a quirk to be hidden. It's a window into the architecture of a highly reflective mind. To understand why your thoughts sometimes need to be spoken to be understood, we need to look at how a certain type of mind manages information. Think of your brain not as a hard drive, but as a busy workspace. For many people, particularly those who are highly introspective or sensitive to nuance, this workspace is constantly flooded with data. You don't just see the facts, you see the connections between the facts. You notice the subtle shift in tone during a meeting, thought you process the aesthetic details of a room, and you're simultaneously aware of your own internal emotional response to it all. This deep processing is a tremendous strength, but it creates a high cognitive load. Your working memory, the mental RAM that juggles active thoughts, can feel like it has too many browser tabs open at once. Psychologist Lev Vygotsky observed this in children who use private speech to guide their actions. They say, "Now the blue block goes on top," not for anyone else, but for themselves. It's a way of turning an internal plan into a concrete external instruction. As we grow up, we're taught to internalize this process. But for the introspective mind, the need for that external step never fully disappears. It simply becomes your own private tool for bringing order to a rich and complex inner world. It's not a step backward into childhood. It's a sophisticated method for managing a powerful mind. Think about when this happens most often. Is it when you're facing a complex decision with multiple variables? You might find yourself pacing, whispering the pros and cons aloud. If I do A, then B will happen. But that disregards C. Is it when you're preparing for a socially delicate conversation? You rehearse your opening line, testing how the words feel in your mouth, almost like trying on an outfit before you go out. Or maybe it's after a social event, when you're finally alone and you find yourself quietly debriefing. I think what they really meant was, you're not just replaying the event, you're sorting and cataloging the data you collected. In these moments, your voice is functioning like a sorting tray. By speaking a thought, you take it out of the chaotic pile of your mind and place it on the workbench in front of you. You can look at it, examine it, see its shape. The act of giving a thought sound gives it weight and separates it from the noise. This isn't a sign of indecision. It's the very process of careful consideration. So what's happening in your brain when you do this? This isn't just a habit. It's a powerful cognitive and emotional regulation tool. We can call it cognitive offloading. When a thought is just a silent, internal concept, it remains abstract, tangled up with emotions and other associated ideas. Neurologically, it might be bouncing around the more intuitive, associative parts of your right brain. But when you speak it aloud, you engage the language centers of your brain, primarily in the left hemisphere. and you are forcing your mind to take that abstract feeling and translate it into the structured logic of language. The spoken word acts as a bridge between the feeling brain and the thinking brain. This process does two incredible things. First, it brings immediate clarity. A problem that feels like an insurmountable knot of anxiety inside your head becomes a linear sentence you can actually solve. Speaking it forces you to define it. Second, it regulates your nervous system. The very act of speaking and hearing your own calm voice can slow your heart rate and reduce cortisol. Whispering, "Okay, one step at a time," isn't a placebo. It's a direct signal to your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, that the prefrontal cortex, your rational mind, is in control. It's you, consciously using your own voice to create internal safety. Beyond organizing tasks, this external speech is crucial for understanding your own feelings, a skill psychologists call achieving emotional granularity. Introspective people often feel emotions with great complexity. You don't just feel sad. You feel a blend of disappointment, mixed with a touch of nostalgia, tinged with the frustration of being misunderstood. Inside your head, this can feel like a tangled mess. Speaking is how you begin to separate the threads. Saying, "I feel disappointed," allows you to isolate that one emotion and examine it. Then, you might add, "And I think I'm also a little angry that I wasn't heard." You are narrating your inner state, and in doing so, validating it. You are giving a name to each specific feeling, which is the first step toward processing it. For those who didn't always have someone to help them sort through their feelings as a child, this becomes a learned skill of self-validation. You become your own emotional translator. The voice isn't a sign of loneliness. It's a testament to your emotional self-sufficiency. It's the part of you that says, "I am here, and I will help you understand what you are feeling." So if this is such an effective psychological tool, why does it feel so private? Why the flicker of self-consciousness? The answer has less to do with you, and more to do with a world that overwhelmingly values quick, surface-level thinking over slow, deep processing. Our culture often celebrates the fast answer, the confident declaration, the outward performance of certainty. The act of thinking out loud is an act of visible processing. It reveals that you are still in process. You haven't arrived at the final, polished answer yet. To a world that mistakes speed for intelligence, this thoughtful deliberation can look like hesitation or confusion. So we learn to hide it. We learn that the correct way to think is silently, internally, and to only present the finished product. Your habit of talking to yourself is not weird. It's simply at odds with a culture that is uncomfortable with the visible messiness of genuine thought. It is the sign of a mind that prefers to be thorough over being fast and right over being certain. However, like any powerful tool, this internal narrator can sometimes work against you. The very mechanism that brings you clarity can, if unchecked, lead you into loops of overthinking and analysis paralysis. The same voice that helps you sort through a decision can become a non-stop committee meeting where every member is a critic. You might find yourself endlessly rehearsing a conversation until you've imagined every possible negative outcome. The voice that sorts your emotions can start to ruminate on them, replaying a minor mistake from your day on a constant loop. This is the potential prison of a reflective mind. The workspace becomes a clutter of unfinished projects. The inner dialogue shifts from clarifying questions, "What's the next step?" to anxious looping ones. "What if I fail? What if they misunderstood me? What if I'm not good enough?" This happens when the tool is running on autopilot, driven by anxiety rather than intention. Your mind isn't faulty. It's just using a powerful engine without a clear destination, and you're getting stuck in the mud. The key isn't to shut the engine off, but to learn how to steer it. The path forward isn't to force your mind into an unnatural silence. It's to cultivate a more conscious, compassionate relationship with your inner voice. It's about shifting from being a passive listener to an active director of your own thoughts. First, practice intentionality. When you notice yourself thinking out loud, gently ask, "What is my goal right now? Am I trying to solve a problem, understand an emotion, or simply worrying?" If it's the latter, you can consciously redirect the conversation. Instead of letting the voice spiral on "what if," you can ask it a better question. What is one small, tangible thing I can do right now? Second, give your voice a dedicated space. This is where journaling is so effective. Writing your thoughts down is the ultimate form of cognitive offloading. The page becomes the workbench. It allows you to have that conversation with yourself in a structured way. The chaos in your head becomes an organized list on the page, and suddenly, the path forward becomes clear. By doing this, you're training your mind. You're teaching it that there is a time and a place for this deep processing, and you are in control of it. The voice ceases to be an anxious roommate and becomes a trusted advisor you know how to consult. When you step back and see this pattern clearly, you realize something profound. Thinking out loud is not a sign that your mind is broken or overwhelmed. It is the sound of a high-resolution mind making sense of a low-resolution world. It is the audible hum of a deep processor at work. It has been your partner through every complex problem, your private coach before every challenge, your debriefing partner after every overwhelming experience. It is evidence that you are engaged, thoughtful, and unwilling to settle for surface-level understanding. This voice doesn't mean you need other people any less, but it does mean you have learned to be profoundly present with yourself. In a world that constantly begs for our attention, you have developed a way to give that attention to your own inner world, to honor its complexity, and to navigate its depths. So the next time you are alone and you hear yourself whisper a thought into existence, don't shrink from it. Don't feel the need to hide. Recognize it for what it is. It is not weakness. It is the sound of your intelligence. It is the sound of your contemplation. It's the sound of a mind that works with precision, care, and depth. You are not just thinking. You are building understanding, one spoken word at a time. Ultimately, understanding this part of yourself isn't about fixing a flaw. It's about learning to work with your own mind. If this explanation resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Which idea felt most true to you? And consider subscribing for more insights that help you navigate your inner world.